here with an episode of Chordplay, and this is the Chords of White Lion. And I technically did a part 1. I called it the Chords of Vito Bratta. It was about 2 years ago. And now I'm following that with a part 2, but I've called it the Chords of White Lion. I don't honestly remember why I called the first episode the Chords of Vito Bratta. I guess I wanted to use his name instead of the band name. And then now, almost 2 years later, I flipped and now I want to use the band name instead of Vito's name. But Vito's a very interesting guitarist. I mean, phenomenal, player, very respected. There's a lot of people that still hold, his music and his playing in a high regard. And it's interesting that he kind of disappeared from the scene like in the early 90s, and he hasn't really made a reappearance. I mean, I guess Eddie Trunk, and they did kind of a reunion performance somewhere. But Vito's been very absent, and I find that really interesting that there are so many people that are just drooling, for more Vito Bratta. So that's what we're going to hit in this lesson. With Vito Bratta, there's always been a strong Van Halen connection or link between the two, because yes, he taps and he uses sus chords, and there's some, playing similarities between Eddie and Vito. But Vito's a huge Van Halen fan, so that's expected. That's one of his, heroes. So some of that rubbed off on Vito, but when I hear Vito play, I mean, I definitely hear the Van Halen connection, but I can hear traces of Randy Rhoads, a lot of Aeolian, in his playing, which, Randy Rhoads loved Aeolian. And there's just little things, some of his phrasing, there's pinch harmonics, there's some like diminished triads and stuff thrown in that you don't see so much in Van Halen's playing. So even though people have kind of labeled him as a Van Halen clone or a extension of Van Halen, Vito really does have his own thing, as far as, his selection of chords and his vocabulary of chords, the riffs and fills and all the stuff that he played. It's just so musical and melodic and inspiring when you hear it. Good tone, great feel, and great phrasing too. And that, I think, is Vito Bratta's, secret weapon. The opening that was Hungry from the Pride album, one of my favorite White Lion songs, and a killer riff. It's kind of mixed with some power chords and single notes, but we've got this. So in the opening, it's basically flirting with E Aeolian or E natural minor, and then you hear him target that C right there. So right there, and you kind of hear it twist from E minor to C major. So I like that little twist in the progression there, E to C. Right there, just grab this G power chord, with one finger. But you're kind of flirting with like a flat 5 on that C. Right there. And then right here, this is going to feel like C Lydian, which technically it is, or E Aeolian, but it's going to feel like Lydian because you're starting on that C right there. That little fill. Kind of a speedster fill in there, but really cool. So that first pass. The second time you want to do everything the same, but it's going to end different. You've got this little harmonic fill at the end. Right there, after you do the riff, you're going to grab this double harmonic on the 7th fret, low E and A, 5th fret harmonic on the A, and then a 5th fret on the D and the G, like this. And he kind of dips the bar there on that double on the 5th fret there on the D and G. And then just end with that E power chord. Killer riff though. Right up next we got the intro to Sweet Little Lovin' from Pride, and there's this little chord twist that Vito's doing in the beginning, something like this. Right there you can see we're starting with an E power chord, and then we're moving between this E sus4 to E major, and then grab this B note and grab the open A and open D, and that's basically part of a D, power chord. And then right there you're going to grab this piece of the D power chord, the open D and the second fret on the G, and right there you're basically playing G5 and then G flat 5 because you're grabbing that A flat right there. Then it changes to A. And right there you're basically playing A5 and then the A5 to A major 7 back and forth. So he's basically playing with this A and G sharp over and over, just with 3 different chords. E, D, and I like that crafty arrangement, kind of using this, but using it over different chords. Really cool. Up next is the chorus section from Baby Be Mine from the Big Game album, and it's something like this. Right there, it's a single note riff, and then you hear this diminished triad, and this is actually kind of a secret weapon in Vito's chord arsenal because it does pop up actually in a couple songs on Big Game. I think it also makes an appearance in a couple songs on Main Attraction too. So even though he didn't really use these diminished triads on Pride, they do pop up on the following albums, Big Game and Main Attraction. So we've got this. Right there, do a G to A power chord. And then he hits this, it's basically E diminished. It's actually using the B flat as the root right there, but you hear this striking, it's just kind of a chord hit on that chord. Like that, grabs your attention. It's like, what? Now for another sample of these diminished triads in Vito's rhythm work, check out the song If My Mind Is Evil, which is also from Big Game, and you'll hear this. So it starts with D minor, and you strum it, and then you just very slowly dip your bar, like this. And then you're moving into this E power chord, and you're also grabbing an E flat 5 right there. So you're moving that B to a B flat, like this. So you're literally moving E5 to E flat 5. Right there you want to grab that E diminished like we had in Baby Be Mine. You hear a pick scrape. And then right here, that's basically what? A D sharp 5, and you're also grabbing this D sharp 5. Like that. So think of that raised 5th right there. And then end on D sus4 right here. Pick scrape, and then then right here, this is really interesting. So it's going to be a C sharp, sharp 5, and then a C sharp diminished right here, like flat 5. And then a C6 to C5. And then B power chord. Right there, you're kind of playing with that B power chord, also flirting with the C natural right there. You're moving up to that C and also grabbing that open A in there. And then right here, you're doing the single note riff that kind of bends and squeals its way into that E power chord. And it moves into the next riff. That's a killer guitar part, and I love those chords where he's just slowly twisting and mutating. You know, it totally sounds like Dokken or somebody because it's all dark and sinister. Next we have Lights and Thunder from Main Attraction, and it's something like this. It's the main riff. Really interesting. So it starts with this, and it's kind of squealy on that G at the end of that single note riff. And then you hear this, you know, E to D power chord slide. And then you do that squealy single note riff again. And then you hear these. There's actually two guitar parts there. One's just staying with the power chords, and then the other one shifts to these little partial chords. So it's like this. That's kind of like a little piece of G, a little piece of F sharp minor. And then that last little chord there, that's actually a D over F sharp, like that. And then when the verse starts, you hear this. Basically an F sharp 7 sus 4. You know, the great Alex Lifeson chord, you know, from Rush. And also Rooster, you know, Alice in Chains. There's a bunch of songs that have that chord. But he's really just kind of picking through it. Kind of grooving on that F sharp 7 sus 4, where it's rhythmically, you know, it's not just straight through the chord. It's like he's kind of starting and stopping, you know, his rhythm. You know, really tasty. I like that. Last example's from Tell Me from Pride, and it's this part. It's like the main riff. So right there, we're actually starting with this. So think of that as like E over G sharp right there, because we're basically flirting with this E. But he's bashing it like a chord. I mean, it is a chord, but he's bashing it like a, you know, chord riff. And then you hear this. So that's basically B major, and that's kind of flirting with the sus2 right there, because you're going back and grabbing that C sharp. And then you hear this. This is really crafty. So that's basically like C sharp minor right there, or C sharp minor 7. You're doing this. So there's 3 chords right there, but they're twisted and very, unusual or just different. The E, the B, and then the C sharp minor 7. Then you've got this little tag. So you're basically walking into this A. It's going to feel like a little piece of F sharp minor right there, and then it's like a A major, and then you've got this B, and he's flirting with the sus4, and he actually ends on that E note, and he kind of squeals it a little bit there too. Killer guitar part. I love that riff. That's going to wrap this episode of Chordplay with the Chords of White Lion, which is technically part 2, but different titles. But definitely Vito Bratta, is a very inspiring guitarist. I mean, I've been a fan of his since I was a teenager in high school, and when I heard his music, I thought, wow, it sounds like Eddie, but it's different, and obviously the songs and, his playing is different enough where it's not just an exact replica. He definitely has his own approach and style and his own feel and everything. Really cool guitarist. I would love to see him make some sort of return. I mean, even if it's just a solo album or something, or it could be all acoustic. It doesn't even have to be like shreddy guitar. It could just be really mellow. But I really would like to see Vito make a comeback, either just in the community, for guitarists or something. I mean, maybe it wouldn't necessarily be a band thing, but just go ahead and show people like, hey, here I am. Everything's cool or whatever. Maybe play a little bit, or at least communicate with his fans, because there are fans all over the world that are just dying for more, Vito Bratta. And I'm one of those people too. I'd love to hear, some new music from this master of the guitar. So anyway, leave some feedback and some comments. Please subscribe to Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.